So for every class, we'll do the recording. If let's say in the coming lesson you miss out some lesson, you can do the class replacement. This is an interactive class. So be mindful what are you speaking, because everything will be recorded down. Okay, so by knowing all the purpose, I feel so glad that you all coming. Some is due to the abhidhamma, the words to know further abhidhamma. Some is telling that the abhidhamma itself is the map for the meditation. And some think about the psychology also. It seems that psychology, Buddhism, the map for the meditation. More better understanding for Buddhism. Yeah, that's true. All is regards to abhidhamma. But anyway, let me try to begin. Once we talk about the psychology, nowadays basically more of the study on the psychology have been related. Let me see. Okay, most of the study of psychology is related to the neuroscience. Okay, let's try to begin to watch a video clip. Okay, yes. Yeah, please enjoy the video clip. Let me we show you later on.
Welcome to part 2 of the brain's inner workings. Here we explore the neurobiological basis of higher brain function. Previously, we examined how individual brain cells communicate through specialized connections called synapses. Now we can begin the fascinating look into how groups of neurons work together. Interconnected groups of neurons in the brain are responsible for higher order thinking and complex behavior. Through investigating the brain on the chemical, functional, and anatomical level, scientists unravel the vast power of the brain in health as well as disease. Neurotransmitters are chemicals that give rise to our everyday life, our actions, our moods, and our behaviors. The chemicals pass from neuron to neuron via synapses. Within the synapse, the glucose metabolism of the mitochondria and the electrical impulse of the action potential cause the vacuoles to intersect with the cellular wall and release neurotransmitters between junction membranes. Different functions and behaviors are localized in certain brain regions. Using this knowledge, the brain's many different mental functions can be broken down into more easily approachable elements. By looking at these smaller parts of brain regions and activities, a more comprehensive understanding of overall brain function can be built. For example, the circuits involved in vision receive information from the retina. After initial processing, these circuits analyze information in different streams so that there's one stream of information describing what the visual object is, and another stream is concerned with where the object is in space. Once function is understood in the less complicated elements of brain organization, then this information can be reassembled to help understand the workings of the whole brain. Laboratory rats guide researchers to form a better understanding of complicated brain processes. For example, studying the rat within a maze helps uncover general principles about learning that can be applied to many species, including humans. Rats are good at remembering where things are and how to get them. Here the rat has learned how to find a tasty treat each time he walks around the triangular maze. But there's a catch. He has to turn in the maze in the opposite direction from the last try in order to get his treat. First left, then right, then left, then right. Using sophisticated techniques, it's possible to listen to the sounds of groups of brain cells firing before the rat makes his left-right decisions. Listen how the neurons fire very quickly just before he makes his turns. That is the sound of his brain cells remembering where the treat is and where to get it. The lessons learned from the rat can be used to understand a similar process in the human brain. To do that, scientists can use technologies developed in recent decades, such as functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI. This allows the imaging of functional activity in the living brain. The fMRI machine makes it possible to take pictures of activity within a living brain. This is not a picture of the neurons or pathways, but instead it's an image of the activity occurring among those neurons and pathways. This is an indirect approach as it uses a marker for neuronal firing. In this case, it detects blood flow and blood oxygenation to provide maps of brain activity. We can see the localized increases in blood flow as the brain capillaries expand in size. Blood flows more rapidly through a larger tube. This increase can be used to map brain activity in response to specific tasks and stimuli, like remembering. As with all other organs, the brain is subject to malfunction. Complex problems like understanding depression and schizophrenia can now be addressed using these and other techniques. Here's an example of the kind of information we get when comparing the brains of normal and mentally ill people. The image on the left is from a normal subject. On the right is a schizophrenia patient, where we can see the vast differences in the amount and location of brain activity. Clearly, several systems, including higher cognitive processes, hearing and movement, are impacted in this disease. Imaging provides a way to identify how the brain processes information differently in schizophrenia. As scientists are learning more about brain circuitry, they are learning more about which circuits are involved with specific tasks. This makes it possible to compare brain regions in healthy people and people with mental illnesses. However, mental disorders are very complicated and still not well understood. These disorders affect our most complex brain processes, like thinking, mood, and behavior. There are several factors that contribute to mental illnesses, including environmental conditions, social events, genetics, and large chemical imbalances. What is clear is that mental illnesses are as devastating as any physical illness. Ultimately, basic and clinical research will unlock the mysteries of mental illnesses.
So applause to the video clip. Okay. Okay, class, basically just now what you see is regarding the brain cell. And then it shows that our brain with the different part function, and as what you mentioned, we talk about the psychology. Basically, the psychology, whatever happened in our mind is closely related to our brain, especially once with the invention of the MRI. Nowadays, even though most of the people they say, my heart feels something, I feel sad. Okay, sometimes it mentioned is our heart base. The location is here is the heart. But nowadays, more facts have been revealed that actually most of our mental state is closely related to our brain. And a different part of the brain, they will be corresponding with the different of the psychological phenomena. For example, let's take a look. Okay, so this is the notes I distribute to all of you. Let's take a look. Okay, so from here the notes. Okay, so we can just come down. Okay, later on you will know how to make full use with this set of the guideline. Okay, we come to the table. Let's see, the table is number X1X. Okay. So you see, this is the list of the table. So once you talk about the psychology, I would like to introduce you is for the 52 mental factor at the glance at the page number 79. If you have your books, please just have a look to read. Okay, 79. Yeah, this is the 79, page 79. You will see 52 mental factors at the glance. Okay, so class, please take a look to this paragraph. Okay, this paragraph. Okay, but before I proceed, shall I know? Is there anybody have the books or you already prepared the information very well? Okay, Mr. Leong, you got the book. Okay, so the rest you have the soft copy, right? Am I right? You got the soft copy. Okay, so everybody got the soft copy. Can you please have a look? You check for yourself which one from number 1 here got number 1 to number 7. Let's take a look. Number 1, number 7 until to the number 13. You will notice that some of the we call it as a psychology phenomena. You are quite interested in it. Okay, can you please just try to check which one you feel more interested? Can you just highlight and then please zoom, raise hand, please. Okay, which the one which you feel interested in it, number 1 to 13. If you don't have the notes, you can have a look to the screen. Okay. So after highlight the one which you are interested in, please raise hand by Zoom. Okay. Okay, Sally, number 1 already finished. Okay. So we got 14 people, 7 is a half. Okay. 2 people, 3 people. Okay, 4, 5. Okay, 6. Okay, you raise hand, please. First of all. Okay, okay, never mind. Since Hui Ping already finished, Hui Ping, can you tell us which one you are interested in? Hui Ping?
Okay, basically, I think on desire.
Okay, so you are interested in desire. So what are we going to do for the desire? Let's take a look and see. So this is how Abhidhamma explain the desire. Let's see. Okay.
Which one?
Feeling a desire, number 12. So for this, because it's in the chapter 2, let's take a look. Cetasika. All right, so this is the desire. Previous. Okay. So this is the desire. Okay, it's coming. Yes. Okay. So Hui Ping, can you please read it out for us? Desire chanda.
Okay, chanda here means desire to act. That is to perform an action or achieve some result. This kind of desire must be distinguished from desire in the reprehensible sense, that is, from lobha, greed, and raga, lust. Whereas the latter terms are invariably unwholesome, chanda is an ethically variable factor, which, when when what just now I missed the word, with wholesome concomitants can function as the virtuous desire to achieve a worthy goal. The characteristic of chanda is desire to act. Its function is searching for an object. Its manifestation is need for an object, and that same object is its proximate cause. It should be regarded as the stretching forth of the mind's hands towards the object.
Okay, Hui Ping, thank you very much. You choose a very good one. Basically, the desire is the one of the mental factor, which is very confusing. Why? If let's say I ask the questions, it is wholesome that you want to earn $1 million? Anybody found that earning $1 million is wholesome? Or maybe I ask, earning $1 million, it is unwholesome. If you think it is unwholesome, please raise your hand. Anybody feel that? Okay, earning $1 million, it is wholesome or unwholesome? If you feel it is unwholesome, please raise your hand. Okay, Hui Ping think is unwholesome. Kok Fong think is unwholesome. Okay, 2 people think it is unwholesome. Okay, all right, Kok Fong, why do you think it is unwholesome?
You should make more than 1 million, not only 1 million.
So you mean 1 million is unwholesome, so 2 million should be super unwholesome, you mean? So you should look for the super unwholesome. Okay, so this is a very good question. Okay, but some people, they don't raise their hand, like Chun Tat. Chun Tat is interested in psychology. Chun Tat, can you tell us why you don't raise your hand?
Because it is neither wholesome nor unwholesome.
Why?
It depends on how we earn the money. It's how we earn it, rightfully or not.
Besides how we earn and also how we spend, am I right? Okay, am I right?
Yes.
If let's say $1 million by accumulation of the $1 million, you use it as a retirement fund, then you go to meditate. Okay, well, it is wholesome, right? Okay, and of course, by having a $1 million, then you start go casino, just do the gambling, all this type of stuff. Of course, it's unwholesome, right? So meaning to say that your intention behind is very crucial. This is the reason why. Okay, Junta, you answer it rightly. In Abhidhamma, the desire, you see, here we mentioned actually desire is ethically variable factor, meaning to say that desire itself, it is neither wholesome nor unwholesome. It really depends on the intention. Basically, in Buddhism, especially Chuntat, you go to the temple, most of us, we don't have a very strict definition for all the terminologies we use. So especially Mahayana temple, we always say, just let go, don't attach. We use the thing very general. So sometimes, if let's say you're working hard, you try to join so many Dharma class, and then people will comment that, how come you are so attached? Okay, in the very beginning, you think, how come I become attached? I'm hardworking, what? But if you think deeply, possible attachment, because it seems I attach from the 5 desire to the Dharma. So finally, it is whether it is attached or not attached. Actually, really depends on the intention. And basically, if we talk about the desire, this is ethically variable. So Chuntat, you see or not? So by learning Abhidhamma, you know what is ethically variable. For example, here all are ethically variable. See, now the desire, the zest, the energy, okay, the decisions, and also the sustained application. All this is considered ethically variable. So that's why if it's ethically variable, you have to depend on the intention. Then we'll know whether it is wholesome or unwholesome. Then we put the second example. For example, energy, viriya. Okay, this time, so I will let maybe one, please rate it up, energy.
Yeah, okay. Energy, viriya, is the state or action of one who is vigorous. Its characteristics is supporting, exertion, and marshalling. Its function is to support its associated states. Its manifestation is non-collapse. Its proximate cause is a sense of urgency, Vega, or a ground for arising energy, that is, anything that stirs one to vigorous action. Just as new timbers added to an old house prevent it from collapsing, or just as a strong reinforcement enable the king's army to defeat the enemy. So energy upholds and supports all the associated states and does not allow them to recede.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's take a look. Energy mean is the non-collapse. For example, in a simple way, we use the simple language is a hard-working. So, Kok Kong, is hard-working a wholesome or unwholesome of mental state? Kok Kong, what do you think?
I don't know. Should be wholesome.
Oh, sorry. One. I'm asking one. One. I'm not cool, huh? Okay, yes. One.
Okay.
Is this wholesome or unwholesome? Hardworking?
Well, I suppose if we hardworking for something that it's good intention, that should be.
That should be wholesome, huh? So, Kok Hong, can I ask you, do you think nowadays the scammer, the love scam, or I mean, now it's happening, a lot of this type of the scamming in internet, do you think the scammer shall they be hardworking in order to scam us successfully? Yes or
Well,
no?
definitely they need to be hardworking to scam.
Yes, so meaning to say that I think you make it correct, because meaning to say that hardworking itself is ethically variable. It depends on how do you use the hardworking, or either you do the wholesome or unwholesome work. You still need hardworking in order to success. So see or not? So that's why if by learning the abhidhamma, we let you know the definition clearly, then you won't be confused by this type of ethically variable mental state. Okay, so this is number one. I try to answer why Jun Tat also Hui Ping, they said that, oh, it's regards to psychology. Okay, basically, if let's say nowadays you go to the size of the brain, for example, let's take a look here. Okay, if we come to here, so if you just write in the beginning, we write is a desire, right? I see. If let's say we write desire, then we just write the brain. Okay, maybe here. Let's take a look. Okay, nowadays you see which part of the brain is responsible for desire. Never mind here the desire, we don't just specific our desire. Here the desire is supposed to be more like a sexual drive. Okay, it's greedy actually. This is unwholesome. But here, according to the science, we know that the part of the brain responsible for it is the hypothalamus. So from hypothalamus, we come here and we search and we go to the image. So we know here is the hypothalamus. So meaning to say this is the part responsible to the greediness for most of the human being. So we know that concretely because last time during our study, all the mental state is very abstract. So sometimes we can only understand based on the definition only. So nowadays since the advance of the MRI study, especially in the neuroscience, we exactly know which part of the brain have the relationship with this particular part. Sometimes it is helpful, but sometimes it's a good explanation for you. Or this part something wrong. This is why I remember they got one case. It happened that a guys who is a pedophile. Okay, pedophile. Okay, pedophile meaning to say that he will be sexually stimulated by the children. Okay, by exposing and manipulate the children. But the pedophile happened is in the age of the 40 years old. So once it go to the court, they all feel surprised. Basically, the pedophilia character shouldn't be performed so late. So finally, they go them have a brain scan. They notice that in the prefrontal cortex, this part, there is a tumor there. Oh, so they understand that there is a tumor. Maybe it's the cause for the anomaly of the character. So the criminal had been have a surgery. Well, surprisingly, after removal of the tumor, he get back, become normal already. And the court sentenced that you can go back your home and they can take good care of your children because that's the tumor is the culprit. See or not? So that's why so nowadays we have to relate all the psychology with our neuroscience to study. And nowadays if you really got tumor in your brain, it can be used as a proof to claim you are innocent. You are innocent. Nowadays, you can use it already, in American. So that's why we have to relate all the now the presence, the neuroscience to the psychology, and then you can make use of it. For example, some of us mentioned that by studying the abhidhamma, then you can go to meditate, right? Okay. So now when we mentioned that meditation actually something to do with the brain. Okay, especially you feel the nimitta appears. Yeah, Mr. Leong, once you feel the appears of the nimitta, you feel the nimitta is in your brain or is in your heart here.
Brain.
Huh?
Actually, it's in the mind, not in the brain.
No. I know. You feel the light shine out. Is here shine out or is here shine out?
The brain.
Yes, that's why. So that's why, Mr. Leong, I ask you, you have to take more omega-3 and exercise before you go to meditation. Yes, because nowadays proof of omega-3 is very helpful to the brain development. And during the meditation, a lot of part of the brain from the MRI study is very activated. And it has something to do, like just now mentioned, neuroplastic, our neuron, our septum, all this actually has relationship with them. So if you don't keep your brain well, you go to meditate, I don't see you don't have a good outcome. Okay, do you get it? So that's how we apply the modern knowledge to relate to the abhidhamma and the psychology. So it's number one. You say you come is still to the psychology. Here a lot of things that we can provide to you. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. You see, just now we go to this. We go to the table. Okay, table. No. X1X. Let's see. Sorry. Now, from the table, just now we mentioned, is a 52 Chatasika is number 79. We will see that there's quite a lot of the mental psychology phenomena you might be interested in it. Let's see, besides number 1 to number 13, here a lot of, especially like shamelessness, fearlessness of the wrong, then regards the greedy, the envy, the avarice, okay, the worry. So abhidhamma, especially the proximate cause, can help you a lot. For example, if you have an envy, so we ask how can you avoid your envy to arise by using the knowledge of abhidhamma? So we can do in this way. You see, envy. Okay, envy. Yes, Elena, can you please read the passage envy? Maybe just directly from the screen.
Envy has the characteristic of being, cannot see this, of being jealous of others' success. Its function is to be dissatisfied with others' success. It is manifested as aversion towards that. Its proximate cause is others' success.
Okay, so Elena, if let's say, I mean, envy is quite normal for most of us. If let's say you have an envy already, according to abhidhamma, what will you do in order to prevent it from happening again? The clue is from here, Elena.
Don't be jealous of other people.
You take a look,
Proximate cause is others.
yeah, proximate cause is other success. So how do you use these facts to help you to prevent the envy to arise?
It doesn't matter what other people get, it is their luck. Don't be jealous of what other people get.
So meaning to say you are using a mindset to control, right? Okay, but here the proximate cause is other success. Elena, 簡單嚟講，冇眼睇就得啦。Don't go to see people success. Yes, you see, sometimes this proximate cause is very helpful because the envy will arise only once you see somebody, the success of somebody. But of course, it depends on the target also. Basically, if this is your children, you will never envy. You will be very happy. You will envy only if it is the success of your enemy. Am I right, Elena? Basically the enemy success, you will feel envy. So the best way is we are not sage, we are not the noble. So just don't go and see and hear lah. That's all, you see. So the proximate cause will be very helpful for you to prevent some unwholesome state to arise, and likewise for the wholesome you can try to make it arise. So that is how we make full use of it. That's why, especially for those who come for the trial class, let's take a look. You see, if you go and see, here the page total is 428. Wow, 428 pages. I think you think, wow, it's too huge volume. So no worry, you come for the first trial lesson. If you feel good in the lesson number 1, you can try another 8 lesson. And then 8 lesson you feel good, maybe you try at least chapter 1 and 2, because number 1 and 2 more on the psychology and the application is very high. And then you can just do until to the chapter 2. And then if you feel enough already, then you can sign out anytime. But some of our students are quite guaranteed they will study until finish. Am I Leong Sally? You will study until finish, right? I see or not? And also Mr. Leong, right? Mr. Leong, right? Okay, Elena, you study until finish, right? See, applause to all of them, you see. Okay, because we should learn from Muslim lah. Because Muslim pray in Friday, there's never ending one. They won't say we just pray for 3 seasons. No, it's a whole life. I think it is good for us. Maybe we can just allocate certain time for whole life learning. We choose the right subject we are interested in, they will be very good. So please don't worry. I will encourage you to study. If you really have some limitation, maybe until chapter 2. Then I mean this is something is really have something to do with the psychology. Okay. So now next, because our student mentioned regards the map. Please come to the page number 1. So this is the page. Please come to the condensed. So we will see general condensed. Okay. So this is the general condensed. Okay. Who is the one who asked the question? Can you please read it out? Okay. 1 compendium of, please. Who can you please read it out? Okay.
Number 1, compendium of consciousness, compendiums of mental factors, compendium of the miscellaneous, compendium of the connective process, compendium of the process fruit, compendium of matter, compendium of categories, compendium of conditionality, compendium of meditation subjects.
Okay, thank you so much. So cool. Basically, this really is the map for meditation. According to Buddha Gosa, basically, in order, I mean, once we talk about to enlighten wisdom, there will be pariyati, patipati, and pativeda. Pariyati meaning to say that you have to learn in the very beginning before you go to meditate. So what should you learn? Basically, okay, you must learn the ground of the knowledge. What does it mean, ground of the knowledge? Meaning to say that it's the 5 aggregate, okay, the 6 base, okay, and then the 12 elements, okay, then the 4 noble truth and 12 link and condition. Basically, cool. Okay, once we mention the consciousness and the mental factor, both of them, they are the ground. We call it as for the wisdom. This is the knowledge which is essential for you to integrate with the jhana 1 days, and you start to do the vipassana. So this is the what I mean. This is the basic knowledge. But of course, in order, people also mention, some of you mentioned that you want to know deeper regards what is happening. Once you are seeing the things, okay, once you are hearing something, the moment you pass away, and then maybe you want to ask, if I attain the first jhana, What is the mental state for the first jhana? What is the mental state when I attain to the nibbana? Okay, all is, you can get the answer in Abhidhamma. Where can you get the answer? Let's take a look. Let me show you. It's also, everything is in your notes. So this is the table, okay, x1, x. So let's take a look. This is the list of the table. Okay, maybe in the very beginning we ask what's happening if, let's say, how do I perceive the work? How do I understand the work? So this is we'll show you one the limit jhana process is in the page 166. Let's see. Okay, yeah, here is this. Okay, the limit jhana process. So you will see, what is this? The BVAMJJJ. You don't know what is that about. But we will tell you that once you are seeing a clear subject, you see. So this is the mental state happen. Everyone have their own specific name. You will learn all the name is in the chapter number 1, 2, and number 3. For example, this is the bhavanga, this is the vibration bhavanga, this is the arrest bhavanga, then this is the evidence. And then this is the jhana, and this is the registration, and this is the bhavanga. So what is the meaning for all of this? Let's take a look. Maybe this diagram is more clearer, we are able to see. From this diagram, we just now we mentioned the J. J is the jhana. Basically, this is the stage you start to create the karma and accumulate the karma. In the simple way, in the simple way, meaning to say that if you see something, okay, for example, for example, you see something it looks very good. Once you have a visit to your friend's house, okay, then you start to see, oh, the Gucci bag is very good. Okay, so that is we call it as a connective process. Basically, this connective process involve your eye, okay, and also involve your brain, like this diagram. In the very beginning, you see the Gucci bag, it will be reflected in your retina. So this we call it as the limit jhana process. It's happened in the within our 5 senses. Then again, it will come to our brain, you see. So in the brain, we call it as a mind-door process, a mind-door connective process. Basically, once the Gucci bag reflect here, it's very clear that, and then maybe you will start to decide, maybe I just take it back, or maybe I just take it only, without telling her, or I just borrow a moment. So you start to create the karma. So when you try to think about that, you plan for it, actually it's something to do with the prefrontal cortex. Okay, prefrontal cortex. And also in prefrontal cortex, if let's say you're educated that you shouldn't do this, you should refrain do this, we call it as abstinence, also is also because due to the prefrontal cortex. So finally, if let's say you just see only in the eye door only, okay, so this is the mind process will be happening. It's the number 1. Okay, but if let's say, of course, it will continuously come to the, this is number 1 is the eye consciousness connective process. Second is the mind-door connective process. So this process is happening, it will be in your occipital lobe in your brain here. So from here, if let's say you decide in the jhana that I should steer it, so meaning to say that your prefrontal cortex is start functioning and planning to steer it. And then you will create the karma, and the karma will be accumulated in your bhavanga. Maybe we say in your conscious. So one day, the moment you pass away, you die, if let's say this is very powerful, maybe it will lead you to the woeful state. So this is how we try to we try to explain how come people pass away. Some may be reborn in the sensuous blissful place. Some become a human, maybe become a deva. Some maybe go to the woeful state. So this is the connective process, especially in Wafa, in our mind door, our 5 door. We use it to explain how we create the karma. That's why this process is very important, because if number 1, you can decide where you go next life. This is the purpose of study abhidhamma, because we tell you what is wholesome, what is unwholesome, and wholesome, where will you go? Unwholesome, where will you go? Where will you go? Then once you know the pros and cons for each one very well, you will be very behave yourself. I can tell you, because we can tell you very details what happening in your mind process and also involved in your brain. Then finally you decide yourself. You can decide your destiny. So beside this, this is happening in our daily life. Of course, it will happen once maybe you enter to the jhana. For example, let's take a look. This is the diagram to show you where we will going to enter to the jhana. See, again, our notes is very good. Please let's take a look. You see, here is the. We go back to the table. Okay, so in the table here, let's see. Once we talk about maybe you want to experience the Nibbana, we go to the chapter number 4. You see, absorption jhana process 169. Let's take a look. 169. Okay, so this is the one. The absorption jhana process. Okay, for you, you can't see anything, or it's just a symbol icon on it. But maybe I show you this. This looks more interesting. See, so this is the one. If you first time experience the nibbana, lokuttara apanya, so this is the mental state. Here, MG here is the Magga, here is the Phala. So before the Magga, Phala, you experience the Nibbana, this is the mental state you are going to experience. You know each one, the name and the function for every consciousness very well. So this is the foundation. Where can you get it? Chapter number 1. So no matter how, you can't run away from chapter 1, chapter 2. You might have to pay some effort if you want to know detail. Because what you study in the way to Buddhahood, maybe 学佛第一步, all this is just for very general need. You want to know things specific, you have to come to Abhidhamma. Basically, this is the unique of the Abhidhamma. Then besides this, actually Abhidhamma have something to do with the science. Okay, I have something to do with the science. And you know, this that basically, what scientists try to do is to find the truth. Okay, yes, as CJ, I think CJ know very well. Can you tell me so far, what is the finding from scientists that the most subtlest part of the mass is what? What is the name of that particle? Particles? SCJ?
Neuron.
Neuron. Oh, sorry, you're outdated already. Okay, never mind. Okay, a neuron are wrong already. Okay, never mind. I want you to get another wrong answer from you. What is the equipment have been used to find the smallest particle in our world?
Electronic microscope. I don't know.
Also wrong again. Okay, so I'll let me show you one video clip and we see how advanced the science nowadays. Okay, please enjoy the video clip. Okay.
Like electron.
CERN is the world's largest particle physics research laboratory. It covers 6 square kilometers, scattered over 12 sites either side of the Franco-Swiss border near Geneva. In 34 kilometers of tunnels and caverns the size of cathedrals, at over 100 meters underground, CERN hosts facilities for experimental physics. Scientists from all over the world work here in international collaborations to study and understand the mysteries of the universe. Stars, planets, seas, air, humans, everything around us is made of matter. Matter is made of atoms. Atoms are made of electrons orbiting around a nucleus, which in turn is made of protons and neutrons. Inside these, we find quarks. In CERN's newest accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, Particles collide at nearly the speed of light to study the quarks and other particles. Many of these particles only existed in the early universe for a fraction of a second after the Big Bang, when all the energy transformed into matter. In CERN's accelerators, we can recreate conditions that existed just after the Big Bang and shed light on such questions as, why do particles have mass? What is the nature of dark matter in the universe? Why did matter triumph over antimatter in the first moments of the universe, making our existence possible? What was the state of matter just after the Big Bang? 4 gigantic instruments called particle detectors will study the data from the LHC collisions in search of the answers to these fundamental questions. The experimental and theoretical study of these conditions allows us to understand the fundamental laws of nature and to unveil the ultimate mysteries that govern our universe. In the course of their research, CERN scientists have often come across discoveries that have affected our everyday life. The technology used for particle detectors is at the origin of security scanning equipment and several medical applications. And the World Wide Web was invented at CERN in 1990 by the British scientist Tim Berners-Lee. The web soon grew beyond the world of particle physics and has become our primary repository of information, changing and improving the way people interact and communicate. To treat these massive amounts of data produced by the Large Hadron Collider, physicists, together with experts from industry, are building a web of cooperative computing called the GRID. The GRID will allow thousands of research centers and universities to share their data storage resources and computing power, transforming the internet into a giant global supercomputer and building capacity for the science of tomorrow.
Okay, not yet finished, huh?
So the Higgs idea, this whole business, has to do with the origin of mass. So first, what is mass? It's something we're all quite familiar with. You know, when you push on any object, be it a rock, a Mack truck, whatever, the resistance you feel when you push on the object is the mass of the object. Now, where does the mass of the object come from? Well, clearly, it's got to come from the constituents, the particles that make up the object. But then the next question is, where does their mass come from? Especially when we're talking about fundamental particles like electrons and quarks. Where does their heft, where does their mass come from? Here is the idea, according to this Higgs approach. Imagine that space itself is filled with a kind of invisible substance. It's called the Higgs field, but think of it sort of like a cosmic molasses. And then when particles like electrons, say quarks, if they're trying to move through space, they have to kind of push through this cosmic molasses and they experience a resistance as they try to do so. It's sort of like you throw a little pebble into a vat of molasses, you can see that the pebble is experiencing resistance. The same would go for the particles. And that resistance, say when you push on an electron from its interactions with that surrounding Higgs molasses, would be the mass of the electron. Now, that analogy is not perfect. It might lead you to think that an electron would always be brought to rest as it experiences some friction against the molasses as it's traveling through empty space. That's not correct. This drag force only manifests itself when the particle is trying to speed up or slow down, but it's not a bad way to think about how, according to Higgs, particles would be imbued with mass. Pushing through the ambient molasses is where the mass comes from. Well, this idea that space is filled with the Higgs field, this Higgs molasses, it's a kind of a wild idea. And when it was first put forward, frankly, most physicists didn't believe that this idea was correct. So How would you verify this idea through experiment? Well, here's one possibility, the one that has actually been done. Take particles, make them go around, say, the Large Hadron Collider near the speed of light and slam into each other. When they slam into each other, they kind of are banging into space. They're kind of slapping space. They're kind of spanking space. And when you spank space, if it really is filled with this molasses, then the molasses should kind of jiggle. And if you jiggle the molasses in the right way, you should be able to flick off a tiny speck of the Higgs field, and that tiny speck would be a Higgs particle. And that indeed is what we believe has happened at the Large Hadron Collider. Very hard to find these particles. Calculations show that roughly 1 in a trillion of these spankings of space, these collisions of particles, will actually flick off one of these Higgs particles. But now there's very strong evidence that the Higgs particle has been found, that this Higgs idea is right. The Higgs idea and its confirmation is really important for a number of reasons. Number one, we physicists aim to answer basic fundamental questions. And one of the most basic of all is, where do the elementary fundamental particles get their heft, get their mass? And this suggestion, which appears to be correct, is a vital step forward. A second reason why this idea and its confirmation is important is the Higgs particle is a new kind of matter, not just a new run-of-the-mill particle. You see, the particles that we know about, like electrons and neutrinos and quarks, they all spin around, sort of like a top, in a quantum mechanical way, but the point is they all spin around. The Higgs particle is the first species of elementary particles that doesn't spin at all, the first spinless species of particle. So it's like finding some alien new life form, but now in the kingdom of particles. So that's a very important step forward. The other thing that is worth emphasizing, especially when you come at physics as I do as a theorist, the idea of the Higgs field and the Higgs particle began as mathematical symbols in an equation in a paper. And then over the course of 40 years, through developing that idea, developing technology to test it, we've now shown that the mathematics led the way. It has shown us a deeper level of reality that we couldn't test when the ideas were first put on the table. And that transition from mathematical idea to a confirmed feature of reality, that's really what we theorists live for. So those are three reasons why we are so excited that this discovery has now been confirmed and rightly been awarded the Nobel Prize. All tracked down equations about that describe matter, which are almost like a
So applause to the video clip. Okay. So CJ, the answer is the most subtle particle we call as a Higgs boson, and the equipment we call as a large hadron collider. A large hadron collider had been built 2012, all right? And after 4 years experiment, okay, it's about 2012, Higgs boson had been discovered. It is considered the smallest particle have been ever discovered. This is the one who discovered it has been awarded the Nobel Prize. But do you know that 2,000 years ago, Shakyamuni Buddha have already discovered the smallest particle in our body? Mr. Leong, what is the name of the smaller particle in our body?
Cell.
Huh? What?
So don't know the cell tissue.
No. It's we call it a rupa kalapa. Okay. So, Mr. Leong, we don't use the large hadron collider. What do Buddhists use to discover the finest particle part of the rupa kalapa?
Mind.
Mind. In what state of the mind? In jhana or not jhana mind?
China.
Yes. Okay. Applause to Mr. Leong. Yeah, very good. Okay. So class, actually, from our notes, let's take a look. If we go to the matter, Here is the matter. Okay, so again, we go to our table of the list. X. Okay, from the table, we come to the matter. This is the chapter number 7. The 28 material phenomena 236. Let's take a look. Okay, surprisingly, we have been discovered that 2,000 years ago, actually the smallest particle, we call it as a rupa kalapa. So this is the important part within the rupa kalapa by using the jhana. So this is there's totally 18 part. We call it as a concretely produced matter. Then from here, the great essential is the earth elements, water element, fire element, and the air elements. And also we're able to check the sensitive phenomena. All are our nerve system here, you see. Besides, we also check the genetic, or we will see that whether it's the femininity or the masculinity from your genetic. All right. And then besides, we're able to check your heart rate, all this. So this is we call it. We're quite surprised. 2,000 years ago, by just using our mind, our focused mind, we're able to see the finest part of the particle. But of course, we don't name it as a neutron, proton, electron. We don't name it all this, but we name the way according to the Buddhism. Why the discovery is so important? Why? The reason is we are all formed by all the rupa kalapa, all the small particle, and this small particle is the one. Once they compact together, it comes our hallucination that the self concept. Actually, self doesn't exist. So that's why if we can use our jhana, we go to analyze our whole body, and we notice that actually we are formed by all the rupa kalapa. Then the wrong view of the self will be will be subside. Okay, it will disappear. Once the wrong view of the self disappeared, there will be no more attachment to the to your car, the attachment to the house, the attachment to your asset, whatever. Why? The reason is we have all the attachment is due to the wrong view of the self. Once there is a self, there will be something belongs to you. If let's say the self destroy, then you will destroy the sense of the belonging also, the sense of the attachment also. Then finally, you will be free from all the defilement. So see or not? So this is the way we try to observe our mental, our matter, but we use the same ways to analyze the mentality also. It's the same. So we analyze our mind to the finest the part, and we notice that the mind actually it is comprises from a consciousness and also from a group of the mental. We call it as a mental factor. For example, this is the one. So for example, this is our consciousness. So this is all are the mental factor. Just now we see there will be total 52 mental factor. So the 52 mental factor, part of them is the combinations for this consciousness. And this consciousness, how do we know? Actually, this consciousness we will learn in the chapter 1. There's totally 89 consciousness. Let's take a look. So this is what the consciousness we are going to see. See, timetable, consciousness is number 22. Okay, let's see. So this is, we call it as a consciousness. We will see there will be the unwholesome consciousness, rootless consciousness, a beautiful consciousness, sense sphere consciousness, fine material sphere consciousness, immaterial sphere consciousness, and finally is the supramundane consciousness. So basically there will be 4 types of the consciousness. Okay, this is the consciousness. All will be, all are within our mind, and it could be arise by using different technique and the skills. So in Abhidhamma chapter 1, we will tell you how to make the 5 material sphere consciousness arise, and also we will learn how to make the unwholesome consciousness arise. Of course, by knowing what's the cause of the unwholesome consciousness, we'll try to prevent it. But if let's say you found that it's the time for you to practice to the meditation, you should know what is the fine sphere consciousness, how to make it arise. and maybe you're aiming for a supramandit nibbana, then you should learn, will make you understand that how is this supramandit consciousness will arise. So all actually subjects to some condition to make it arise, all will be taught in Abhidhamma, including the skills how to arise it. But of course, we will learn all this theoretically because as I know, you all are analytical mind people, you won't start the meditation, the course, unless you know in some level. So here my job is provide you the knowledge, the necessary mindset. Okay, how should you prepare yourself? Then next step you have to go to meditate by yourself, or you can use this Abhidhamma as a fundamental to understand the Dhamma. Basically in Myanmar they never teach Nikaya, but they teach Abhidhamma because Abhidhamma, as you see, is a very systematic, a very complete, and a very comprehension for most of the Nikaya and Abhidhamma. You can use it, to read the Nikaya, to explain the Nikaya easily. So that's why my mastery of Abhidhamma, that's why once I talk about the Nikaya, I will use Abhidhamma, why I try to explain the Madhyamika, the Yogacara, Zhongguan Weishi, we use Abhidhamma and make us feel easy and simple to digest it. So that is, that's how I try to answer all of your needs. So this is the way, if you come to learn the Abhidhamma, that you'll be able to, whatever outcome you're looking for, that is the result is waiting for you. Okay, so before we ending our class, any question? Yes, Mr. Leong, please.
Sifu, what's the difference between Theravada Abhidhamma and Sarvastivada Abhidhamma?
Okay, basically in the very beginning, there's no much differences. So maybe I would like to tell you a little bit it's regards to history. Class, let's take a look. We have to know a little bit regards to history, you see. So class, this is a Sangha. Okay, so after Buddha Parinibbana, so there's a Sangha, and here we see a Mahasamgika and the Stivara, and from Stivara we are able to see it's a Sarvastivada here. So meaning to say that, and also we see Theravada here, meaning to say that before the Sarvastivada and Theravada, before the splitting of both of them, actually there's the same only. They are the same. Maybe I want to show you this diagram even more clearly. Let me show you this. Okay, let's see. Okay, class, let's take a look. We have to use a little bit history to solve this problem. Basically, class, let's take a look. So this is 450 before Christ. So this is 100. This is, after the Christ is a CE already. So here we are able to see in Indian, it happens that before Christ, this is we call it as the early Sangha. Then at this moment is early Buddhist schools. Okay, it's about the time range is between before Christ, about I think for something and up to this time. You see, it's about 500 before the after the Christ. You see, this we call it as a BC. So here actually in Indian it happened in this way. You see. What we know this in Indian, basically at this time, Buddhism is flourishing is in this area. Okay, so after Buddha Parinibbana is about 200 before the Christ. There's one school called as Timsa from the order of the king. They travel to the Sri Lanka, and from Sri Lanka, from 200 BC, they start spreading to Myanmar, Thailand, and they call themselves as Theravada. And there's other school here. They come to the northwestern part of India. They're flourishing in the Pakistan, also Afghanistan. They call themselves as a Sarvastivada. And then it's about 7th century. there's one monk, namely as a Xuanzhuang, he traveled to this part of India and he brought back all the Sarvastivada Abhidhamma to the China. So meaning to say that the Abhidhamma in Sarvastivada and Abhidhamma in the Theravada, in the very early stage, they are the similar here. But when they start to split into the different area, you will see that they will have additional information, and also maybe due to the different experience of meditation, then you can see the difference. But anyway, today, if we compare both Abhidhamma, once you see the similarity, meaning to say that this is the common before the splitting. And once you check, you see the difference is because they're spreading to the different area, and there's a different, it comes up. Yes, Mr. Leong, am I answering your question?
Yes, Sifu, thank you. Another question I would like to ask is, what is the original Abhidhamma with this Abhidhammata Sangaha?
Okay, once we talk about the Abhidhammata Sangaha, basically Abhidhammata Sangaha is the gist from the brief of the Abhidhamma, from the Abhidhamma. Where is the Abhidhamma come from? Abhidhamma actually is a summary from all the Nikaya and 7 Abhidhamma. Once you summary it, it become a brief of the Abhidhamma. But once we know this is about maybe a 10th century, something like that. It's quite late. But at that time, it seems the information, I think maybe 5th century is appears already. But since it's too brief, so we add in some more commentary and make it more complete. So this we call it as Abhidhammata Sangaha. Then Mr. Leong, actually, we are going to learn all this. Your question will be well answered in this part. Chapter number 1, see? Introduction. Okay, introduction. So Mr. Leong, in introduction, so you will know all regarding this. Maybe in the introduction, we will start in our next lesson. So let's take a look. So this is the introduction, so see. Very long, the condensed, because it's very detailed, you see. Okay, then let's take a look. And then abbreviation. So then preface again. Then we come to the introductions. See, this is the introduction. So Mr. Leong, your question will be well answered through the Abhidhamma. And then we'll talk about this, what is the Abhidhamma, exactly the meaning and the twofold method and the origin of Abhidhamma and the author. Okay, all will be answered in the next lesson. Okay.
Thank you, Sifu.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so this is something, this is the first lesson as an introduction to you all. For those, if let's say you are still interested in the class, please, just fill up the form, fill up the form, and then you can just have a try with the first 8 lesson, or maybe the first and second chapter. But finally, you still found that it is not something what you want, never mind, you can just, just mention in the group, and then you can sign out. So the rest will continue the class. Okay. So this is what you do next. Okay. So we transfer the merit. Time's up already. Please on the mic.